Oh, hello, hello, hello. Why am I like this? 1 second. Okay. Can everyone hear me? Can everyone hear me? Hello, hello, hello. All right. Thank you guys for joining me. This is my first live stream. You guys, I'm so nervous. I've never live streamed before. If I take too long to click the buttons, don't get mad because it's my first time doing this. Okay, so 50 Cent. We have to talk about what's been going on this week outside of the Diddy trial. So 50 Cent has been 50 centing. Okay, I have to show you guys this video. Before we get into what happened in the testimony this week, we gotta talk about 50 Cent. Okay. Where is my mouse?
It's a rare condition.
So AI is dangerous. There's this AI video. The Family Matters intro has been reworked into the Freak Off Matters. We have Sean Diddy Combs here. Let me just play this. 50 Cent had posted this on social media. It was going viral, and then he took it down, but everyone had gotten it. So here it is.
This day and age to demand a freak off with so much rage. The strangest addiction that you'll ever find. Some people say that he's losing his mind. Well, then there must be some magic juice inside the Punisher. 'Cause all I see is a chocolate thing. Man, milk busting over everything. It's the biggest break of the century.
So he has Daphne in there. So everyone knows at this point that Jane is 50 Cent's baby mom. So we're not supposed to say it because she's supposed to be anonymous, but it's pretty obvious based off of her testimony. 50 Cent's been clowning her this whole time. Something else that happened this week is that the defense lawyers, tried to get a mistrial again. So in my last video, I talked about how Brianna, for those of you who don't remember, this girl right here, who showed up with her girlfriend looking like Clueless, the two of them, like her looking like Stacey Dash, the other girl looking like Alicia Silverstone, the two of them showed up to court, right? So Brianna Bonner had testified that Diddy dangled her off of the 17th story of Cassie's apartment building. And there's been a lot of discrepancies about this story. So in Cassie's lawsuit that she filed, which Diddy settled, she said that it happened at a hotel, and she said that her friend Tiffany Red was there. However, Brianna Bana has said no, 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 it didn't happen at a hotel. It happened at Cassie's apartment, and Tiffany Red wasn't there. So there's that discrepancy between the two stories. There's also the fact that in Brianna Bana's lawsuits that she filed against Diddy, she says that Diddy groped her. She says Diddy groped her and then he hung her off of the side of the balcony, and she sustained injuries to her chest. However, when she was testifying on the stand, she completely omitted that part from her story. And the biggest bombshell that happened is that the defense was able to present evidence that Brianna's story didn't add up. So Brianna Bana had presented a photo of injuries that she says she sustained when Diddy dangled her. So she says Diddy dangled her and then he threw her onto patio furniture and she got injured. And she had these photos, and the photos have metadata which says that it was taken on September 26th. Right? So this whole testimony was based off of Diddy dangling her off of the balcony on September 26th. However, the defense was able to prove that Diddy couldn't have done it because Cassie's apartment was in LA and Diddy was in New York. He was in New York from September 24th to September 29th, and he was on tour. So it was impossible for him to have done it because he wasn't even in LA. And so Diddy's team has used that testimony and they say, well, she's perjuring herself. She's saying that Diddy caused this injury in this photo that she took on September 26th, and it's impossible. So they're trying to say that the whole trial needs to be thrown out. They need to, like, it's not fair, and they accuse the prosecution of either knowing she was lying or not really caring if she was lying. And so that was the basis that they tried to get a mistrial. However, the judge said no, no, because at the end of the day, the defense was able to debunk her testimony by presenting evidence that Diddy was in New York. They had hotel receipts that showed he was ordering breakfast the morning of the 26th, and then the night before, there's pictures of him on stage performing. That whole week he was in there. So they had a lot of evidence, and the judge says, well, you were basically able to debunk her testimony, so I'm not going to give grant a mistrial. Let's just assume that she made a mistake and maybe there is something wrong with the metadata. So the judge is trying to be very generous and he decided not to give them a mistrial. And so that's what happened with the whole mistrial thing. Diddy also tried to press one of the court illustrators. So because this is a federal case, there's no cameras allowed, and so obviously we have all of these illustrations from the sketch artists. And Diddy pressed one of the sketch artists and says that she's making him look like a koala. Now, personally, I think that her sketches are pretty accurate. Hold on, let me show you guys. How come I can't? Let's see. Let me remove this. Okay, this is the courtroom sketch. Is that not what Diddy looks like? Is that not what he looks like? I think that's pretty accurate. So Diddy literally approached her in the courtroom and was like, "You're making me look bad. Like you're making me look like a koala. You know, draw me better." If I were her, I'm petty. I'm petty like 50 cents. I would go out of my way to make him look bad. Like I would exaggerate the mole he has on his face. I would exaggerate his eyebrows. His eyebrows shoot up like this. I would exaggerate all of his facial features just to be petty. Because how are you gonna go press the courtroom sketch artist about her job? So that is something else that happened. Something else. Something else. This week had a lot of drama. Okay. Juror number 6 got kicked off of the jury. So juror number 6 has been accused of lying. So when people are getting selected for jury duty, they ask them a number of questions. They ask them, obviously, what's your knowledge of the case? What's your knowledge of this person? What do you know about Diddy and all of these other celebrities whose names are going to come up in the trial? And they also ask them a very basic question. Where do you live? And this guy says that he lives in the Bronx with his fiance and his daughter. And so the trial is going on. We're now week 5 of the trial. And this particular juror, juror number 6, was having a conversation with one of the people who work for the courts. And he told this person that he lives in New Jersey. And this is in contrast to what he told them when he was selected for jury duty. And so this was something that was going on all week. All week we knew that there was an issue with one of the jurors, but we didn't know what it was. And so finally on Friday we learned exactly what was happening. And so all week the defense is trying to argue to keep this person on the jury because this is a 41-year-old Black man. He has admitted to being a hip hop fan, and so the defense is hoping that he will be favorable to Diddy. However, the prosecution is like, well, he lied. So how can we trust him to apply the law? How can we trust him to be fair? And how can we trust that he didn't intentionally try to get onto the jury? Because he said he was living with his initially he said he was living with his fiance and his daughter. It turns out that it's not his fiance, they're not engaged, it's his girlfriend. She lives in New Jersey, and he says that he claims to split time between both residences. He says his aunt lives in the Bronx, and the girlfriend and the daughter live in New Jersey, and he's splitting time. So those are two very, very, very different stories. And the prosecution is making the argument that, well, he just lied. Like he lied. He probably tried to get on the jury, and so the judge agreed, and the judge has removed that juror from the jury pool. They do have alternates, so I think it would be wise if they put another black man, if they have one, onto the jury so that they can't argue racism, because that's one of the things that the defense was arguing, is that this is a veiled attempt to remove a black person off the jury. Diddy's black, he should be in front of a jury of his peers, so they wanted to keep that black person on. So that's what happened with that one. I see a super chat. Long live Montserrat, long live Jamaica, long live Trinidad, long live NissCee. Thank you. Yes. Are you a Montserratian, James? Are you a Montserratian? I've never met I haven't met very many people from Montserrat. It's a very small island. So the last thing, the biggest thing that happened this week, Jane, okay, Jane told the story that she went on a trip. This was in January of 2024. And she went on a trip to Vegas. She says that there was a very famous rapper that she went on this trip with. It was to celebrate his girlfriend slash wife. So there was kind of confusion about if this woman is a girlfriend or wife. There's only one rapper that I could think of where we can't really tell what's the situation. He's claiming that's his wife. However, there's no paperwork to say that they're legally married. And she says that she went with this rapper to Vegas. They were at a restaurant, and at the restaurant, she saw a familiar face. So Antoine is one of the entertainers that Diddy and Jane were regularly using for the little hotel nights. They have different words for this thing: hotel nights, debauchery nights, king nights. If I say any of those words, I'm referring to the same thing. So they have this guy that they do these freak offs with, or these king nights, these hotel nights, and he's at the dinner. He's sitting at the dinner table. Jane's like, what's this guy doing here? And so they have a conversation, and no one knows how they know each other, but they know each other. And they go from the dinner to a hotel room. So she says about 8 people were at the hotel, including this rapper and his girlfriend wife. And Antoine then starts having sex with a woman, and everyone in the room is watching. So they're having a little freak off in the hotel. This unnamed rapper is flirting with Jane, saying that he always found her attractive. They end up getting Jane to flash her boobies. So this in Hollywood are weird. So this happened, and the rapper and his girlfriend wife go up to Jane, and they ask her if she has anyone that she could recommend so that they can do a little three-way situation themselves. And so she goes on her phone and she pulls up one of the other guys that Diddy and her also use, and this guy's name is Sly. Now I actually have a picture of Sly. Sly Cabral is the same person. So this guy, he's from Atlanta. I spoke about him last week. This is one of the guys that he's also a P star. And Jane and Diddy were watching P, and they saw this guy, and then they reached out to him, and they flew him from Atlanta to New York to do a hotel night. And they also flew him from Atlanta to Miami to do a hotel night. So this guy, Diddy's going to jail. He's going to jail because he's been charged with doing that, transporting people to engage in commercial sex work. So he's going to jail. But this is the guy. Let me just show you a picture of this guy. He's a chef, he's a P star, and he comes up again later for trying to extort Diddy and Jane. But let me show you this guy. Where is Cabral? Cabral, aka Sly. Let's see this guy. Sorry. Here, that's a stage. So this is him. This is his Instagram, Chef Cabral. This is a photo from a few years ago, but they started doing freak offs with him in like 2021. And here's another photo. He doesn't have too many good ones of his face. He mostly posts food. Hold on. Where is the other one? I'm trying to get you guys a good one of his face. Okay, this is as good as it's gonna get. This is one of the guys that they were doing freak offs with, and this is the guy that Jane gave the contact information to this unnamed rapper and his girlfriend wife. so that they can do a little three-way situation with this guy, right? So the reason that the prosecution, or sorry, the defense was bringing up this story is because they're trying to basically tell the jury that this type of behavior is normal in Hollywood, and they're also trying to show that Jane is open to doing these types of things, that she's okay with this lifestyle. So she's trying to say that she's a victim, but her behavior says otherwise, right? And so the jury actually got to see the text messages. So the jury got to know who this unnamed rapper was, but none of us got to know who this unnamed rapper was. However, the internet never sleeps, and some people figured it out, and 50 Cent was tweeting about it also. So this is 50 Cent is always 50 Centing. He never sleeps. 50 Cent is not the type of person that you ever want to piss off. He'll never forget it. He will he will ruin your life. He will clown you every chance he gets. So this is the tweet. While everyone was trying to figure out who this unnamed rapper was, 50 Cent put up this tweet. 1 second. So here we go. Ye and Bianca Censori reportedly arrived at Diddy's trial this morning, but were denied access to the courthouse. So this was something that 50 Cent had posted on his Instagram, and he's laughing emoji. That's why he was supporting Diddy. His ass was out in Vegas with that little dirtbag, LOL, the little dirtbag being the mother of his child. Now, I will say, 50 Cent constantly clouding his baby moms. While it's funny, it's like, bro, you chose her. Like, you put a baby in that woman. So, I mean, it does reflect on you a little bit that that's who you decided to have a child with. Nonetheless, the internet figured out that Kanye West was the unnamed rapper. And so the next day, Kanye West shows up to the Diddy trial. He showed up in all white, dressed like he was about to attend a freak off, and and he apparently stayed in the courtroom for he stayed in the overflow room for 20 minutes, and he was sitting there with Diddy's son, and then he left because he was pissed off that he couldn't get into the main courtroom. So they have the regular courtroom that's very small, and they have an overflow room where all of the influencers and everybody else can go and sit. And so Diddy was in the overflow room, but this is the video of him showing up to court. Just give me 1 sec. How do I? Sorry, give me 1 sec, guys. Here, let's go like that. Okay, so this is. Let me know if you guys can hear the audio. There's no audio. Okay, 1 second. Let me. Sorry, I have my mic muted. Okay. No, I was just saying that this particular video, you don't really hear much anyways. So Kanye arrives, the paparazzi is just yelling stuff at him. Like, do you think do you think that this is an Illuminati attack on Diddy? They ask him, where's Bianca Censori? Where's your wife? They don't really say anything important. Kanye West doesn't talk. So play that. You can see the law and crime people in the back. They said, "Yay, where's Bianca?" Kanye, do you think the Illuminati is behind this attack on Diddy? There's Justin. They go into the courtroom. So I want to know. I want to know why Kanye West is like the only person who's defending Diddy. I don't think, like, yes, Kanye West is an attention seeker, but I think Kanye West is guilty of some of the same things Diddy is guilty of, and so that's why he's standing beside him because he knows he's also guilty of some things. Okay, so yeah, so those are just some of the shenanigans that happened this week. I do think it's funny that Kanye West showed up dressed like he was attending a freak off, dressed in all white. I wonder if that was on purpose. And did any of you guys see the so Kanye Kanye should have been locked up in an asylum over a decade ago, really and truly. But did you guys see when he was on he did a video with DJ Academics doing an interview? He showed up wearing a Sean John t-shirt, and then he switched it to that the Triple K outfit, the black Triple K outfit. Yeah. Kanye lost a lot of weight. Yeah. 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 So that happened. That happened. Now, before I talk about this week's testimony, let's do a little recap of Jane's testimony from last week. Jane testified for 6 days, and it was not necessary. A lot of it was repetitive, and I noticed that both the prosecution and the defense were cherry picking information to make I don't know, to make themselves sound better, and I kind of ended up dragging on the testimony for so long. Like, just to give an example, like, let's say I'm on the stand, I'm testifying in court, and the prosecution says, "Is it true that that man punched you in the face?" And I say, "Yes, that's true." And then the defense comes up and they say, "Well, isn't it true that before the man punched you in the face, you crashed your car into his car?" And then I say, "Yes, that's true." They were doing that all week. They were cherry picking bits and pieces of information. And then the other side would go in and they would add more context. And then the other side would add more context. And it ended up dragging out her testimony for 6 weeks. It was not necessary, or sorry, 6 days. It wasn't necessary. She basically kept telling the same few stories over and over again. But nonetheless, let's recap what she told us last week because she started testifying last Thursday. So she told us that she started dating Diddy in 2021. At the time, her friend was dating Diddy. And I guess her friend was dating multiple people. Her friend was probably doing these hotel nights with Diddy, but nonetheless. And so Jane goes to a party that she was invited to by her friend. Her and Diddy kind of like each other. They exchange numbers. However, nothing happens. Diddy's texting her, flirting with her. He's interested in her, but she doesn't want to overstep because her friend is still dating Diddy. That friend then ends up getting engaged to somebody else, and at that point, Jane then feels comfortable dating Diddy. And so they start secretly dating. Like, they're keeping the relationship on the low. She doesn't want her baby daddy to know about it. And Diddy is dating multiple people. And she said she was okay with it. She was okay with Diddy dating multiple people as long as everyone was just on the down low. Right. And so early on in their relationship, they go to Turks and Caicos. And um, she says that during this trip, he gave her pink powder, which was Coke. It was pink Coke, and they dated from 2021 until 2023 when they had a little break. They broke up. I'll tell you about that in a moment. But they broke up in 2023, and then they ended up getting back together. And so when they got back together, Diddy approached her about doing a love contract. And so we asked her, how much money would you for for allowance? And she said she wants $15,000 a month. And Diddy's like, okay, how about 10? And she's like, okay, I'll take 10. And so what she ended up doing was she ended up upsizing. So she was already renting an apartment, and then she got a new place to live. She started leasing a house, and she used that full $10,000 for her monthly rent. Personally, like, I don't know. I guess gold diggers do math differently. If I had a boyfriend who $10,000 a month, I would not put all of it towards the my living situation, towards the lease. I would get something, reasonable, and then just live off the rest of the money. But gold diggers going big, and they don't know how to do proper math. Okay, so she got this $10,000 a month house, and Diddy was paying for it. And the court heard this voice note that Diddy had sent her. So this was after they had agreed to do this little love contract, and he says that her loving is so good that she is like crack. He's a crackhead addicted to this crack pipe. So just listen. Hopefully you guys can hear it. Let me know if you guys can hear it.
Hey, baby, we had a great time. Stay in the light.
Can you guys hear that? Okay, good. Okay, so let me play. This was the this was the voice note he sent her after they made their love agreement.
Hey, baby, we had a great time. Stay in the light. It's all good. Get your rest. You are the pipe. That's my new name for you, pipe. Or should I call you CP? But yeah, I want you to stay in the light. You know what I'm saying? We had a very, very good time together. Like so much fun. So much fun. Now go rest up. Get in your bag. Mwah. You know what I'm saying? Got your contract. Find a nice little spot. Put your mind at ease. And yeah, I had a great time. And I really, really want you to get some rest. I didn't know about you throwing up and all that. That's when I was like, hold up a second. All right, get some rest, baby. Love. So if you come in for 24 hours, yeah, you always wanted to set some up. So now you got the opportunity. So set some up for tomorrow night. That last vision we had, that was Dawn and ATL.
So that second part is from a different conversation. So when he's saying get in your bag, he's basically saying, because he's paying her. Basically, he's paying her for sex. So he's like, get in your bag, set up these freak offs for us. Let's do this, right? The court also heard some some voice notes when she had told Diddy she didn't want to do freak offs anymore, and so this was
I really don't know what's going on with you, but I just wanted to.
Sorry, this was a voice note that he sent her, basically saying you need to do your job.
Hey, I really don't know what's going on with you, but I just want to just give you a heads up that I'm about to really disappear on you. You feel me? I'm not going to be playing these games with you at all, at all. So I don't know. You think you silent treating me, and you think I'm gonna be You'll have a rude awakening. You'll just have silence, and ain't nobody threatening you. And I ain't trying to go back and forth with no woman. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, I ain't got no time for no motherfucking games. Where my life is at right now, I don't have no time for no games, baby girl. Me and you could be mad. I could have a spat. We could have whatever. Then after that, you better get on your job. That's really that's all it is. Cause you got me on my job. Nah, it ain't never gonna work like that over here. You know what I'm saying? I was trying not to leave this message, but you have left me no choice. Hey. So either you go in the direction of like moving on and shit like that, or you like just like have me just keep moving. Ain't no threat. I'm just being clear. I can't do the shit with you every time you get upset.
Yeah. So someone, I'm just, as the video was playing, I was reading the chat. Someone says, "Why it sound like he laying on his stomach, twirling his toes?" Oh my gosh, you guys are funny. So yeah, that was one of the voice notes they played. I tried to get as many of the voice notes as I could. I couldn't get all of them. I got a couple of them. Uh, one thing that was interesting during Jane's time testifying was she kept calling Diddy her lover and her partner. So when they're asking her, you know, when you're doing these freak offs, blah blah blah, she's like, yeah, so my I did it because my lover. Like, why did you feel the need? Why did you feel you had to do it? Because I wanted to make my lover happy. I did these things because my partner liked it. My partner, my lover, my lover. I don't think she ever calls him Sean or Diddy or Puff or anything. The whole time she was calling him my lover, my partner. And there's a part of me that kind of wonders if she's well, first of all, she's not completely a an unbiased, if that's the right word, like witness because or victim because Diddy's still paying her rent. He's still paying her rent to this day. Right now, as we are sitting here right now, he's still paying her rent and he's paying her legal fees. And the lawyers that she's using are actually his lawyers. So she has a vested interest in like softening her testimony, and I think she did that a lot during the trial. So yeah, she's calling him like my lover, my partner. She last week she talked about how one of her birthday presents was a freak off. So Diddy got three men for a hotel night, and she said she was sore after she had a UTI. And one thing that's kind of interesting is that Young Miami and Jane's birthdays are 3 days apart. So Diddy had had Jane do this freak off for her birthday, and a couple of days later was Young Miami's birthday, and he took Young Miami to Turks and Caicos. And so this pissed Jane off because she sees all these clips on social media. Jane's bragging about how she's on Love Island. And meanwhile, Jane was doing freak offs for her birthday. So that pissed her off. And just to show you, this is, hold on, this is what Young Miami had posted to Twitter, like as she was out there with Diddy. Give me one sec, guys. Let me just pull it up. So this is it. This was her post from 2022. Oh, sorry, this is the wrong one. This is the wrong one. This is a different story, actually. This is a different story. So something else that happened was once again, Diddy had promised to take Jane on a trip, and he never ended up taking her on that trip. But then he took Young Miami. So this happened twice. There's two occasions where this girl's beefing with Young Miami over trips. So this is from September. Oh no, no, that's one is from her birthday. It's my I think birthday. Let's go. Location Love Island. Sorry, this is the right one. But yeah, the two of these women were beefing over Diddy's affection, his love and affection, and his financial resources. And that came up a lot during her testimony. So do you think Young Miami did these freak offs? You know what? I I don't know. I don't know. I kind of feel like he knew which tree to climb. He knew which tree to climb. He knew who he could do things with and who he couldn't do things with. So I think maybe she didn't have to do these freak offs, and that ended up being a point of contention that came up multiple times during the trial because whether or not Young Miami had to do these freak offs, it was definitely Jane's perception that Young Miami didn't have to do these freak offs. Like Jane testified many like you said many times during the trial while she was testifying that she felt she had to earn these things. She felt she had to earn a Van Cleef necklace. She felt she had to earn a trip to Turks and Caicos or the British Virgin Islands or wherever. Whereas Young Miami, for example, in her mind doesn't have to do these freak offs, and she just gets Diddy's affection. She's on podcasts with Diddy. She's on the red carpets with Diddy. She went to the Met Gala with Diddy. So Jane said many times during her testimony that that really upset her. That Young Miami didn't have to do freak offs, and she did. And I think that statement helped the defense because the prosecution is trying to argue that she was being coerced into doing this. She was being manipulated. Diddy was holding, money over her head. Meanwhile, when she's on the stand, her whole argument is that I don't want to have to do these things if the other girls don't have to do it. That was pretty much what was her argument, her beef over this whole thing. Um, so yeah, uh, those are just some of the things that she testified to last week. She said many times that the reason she did the freak offs was because she didn't want to lose her lover. She wanted to make him happy. She didn't want him spending time with the other women, and she says that she's resentful of the mental hold that he had over her. So those are some of the things that she said last week. So now let's get into this week's testimony. So this is week 5 of the trial that just happened. She testified that in September of 2023, she was planning to travel to New York to see Diddy when he texted her asking her to send him naughty videos, but she said no. She accused him of wanting the video so that he could get in the mood to be with someone else because she's constantly seeing him post pictures and stuff with other women, or these women are posting pictures with him. Sorry. And so she told him that she saw him on a podcast bragging about taking another woman on a yacht trip to the Bahamas and having sex for 48 hours straight. And Jane was jealous because the month prior, Diddy had promised to take her on that same trip. And I think the podcast that she's talking about was the podcast that Diddy had did with Apple Music when he was promoting his Love album. So he was at Apple Music with Young Miami, with French Montana, and yeah. So I couldn't find the exact clip where he says the 48 hours comments, but I found another clip. I don't have an Apple Music subscription, so I couldn't find the whole podcast. So I had to scrounge the internet for the little bits and pieces I could find. So this is a clip from that.
How many rounds you be going?
You know.
The people don't.
You know though.
I know, but the people don't.
Okay, so what's the
I'm
answer?
asking for the people.
What's the answer? What's the answer?
Baby, let me tell y'all something.
On which yacht?
This nigga don't go to sleep. I be like, God damn. I'm gonna tell y'all something. For real. I already thought that I was gonna like make him tap out. Like I already thought he was gonna be being out no chance. This nigga don't go to sleep. Like I be like, nigga, go to sleep. You gotta be energized, you gotta be charged up like a Tesla.
When you going off the grid with me, you gotta go to sleep for a week.
Yeah, because it's
get
definitely
your
giving no sleep.
Yeah. So this was the podcast that upset Jane because he's out here, laughing with Carisha, having this public relationship with her. Meanwhile, she's in the shadows and she in her mind she has to do these freak offs just to get his financial resources. Meanwhile, Young Miami is getting the girlfriend treatment. Let's see. Let me see some of your guys' comments. Hold on. So this person, I don't think she's done a freak off yet. If all this hadn't popped off, she would have eventually been pulled into it. That's possible. She spoke on being peed on and how she liked it. Who said that? That was Young Miami who said that, or that was Jane? Exactly. She never said she was forced. Yeah. All that can be debated. All that can be debated. Not criminal RICO. Nobody gets paid with the mob. It's straight extortion. Go to sleep, Diddy. Yeah. So that was so back to the story. So that Jane saw that podcast. She got upset. She's like, "No, I'm not coming to New York to see you." And she told Diddy that she didn't want to feel obligated to do these hotel nights in order for him to pay for her rent. and she was voicing that she was jealous that Young Miami was getting the girlfriend treatment while she was, his freak off side chick. And Diddy responded with a voice note that was played in court. I don't have the actual voice note, but he said that this is a true open relationship. Why do you have to make it a problem? Now I'm sick. So the two ended up FaceTiming and he smoothed things over with her and she agreed to fly to New York. Her expectation was that they would spend time alone. Then afterwards, they would go to the Bahamas. However, while she's on the flight, so I guess on the flight she was using the Wi-Fi, Diddy started messaging her. So he waited until she was in the air. She's in the air. She's on her way to see him, and he's like sending her messages, like asking about doing a king night, a hotel night, and he's sending her pictures of the men that they could call. And so she got annoyed by this, and she responded telling Diddy that the pictures weren't loading. And so when she arrived in New York, they went to a lounge, they got in an argument. And she said she felt that she had to make it up to him because of the argument that they had. And so she contacted Sly. Now, Sly Cabral. It's the same person. That's the guy whose pictures I showed you. Um, he's the same one that they flew from. This is the situation I'm talking about, where they flew him from Atlanta to New York, and they also, on a separate occasion, flew him to Miami. And this right here, this testimony right here, is going to put Diddy in jail. I think for transportation to engage in crimes of constitution, I'm trying to censor myself because YouTube keeps demonetizing my videos when I say certain words. But that the charge, transportation to engage in crimes of constitution, Diddy has two charges for that, and I think they go up to 10 years. So this has already been proven. We have Jane saying that it happened. I don't think Sly's going to testify, but I think that they're going to have next week. We're going to see summary witnesses. Those are people who are going to give. They're going to like provide things like bank statements and transactions to substantiate some of the other accusations. So I think at the bare minimum, Diddy's going to jail for this, for transporting Sly to engage in S work. As far as the RICO, personally, I think there is enough for a RICO. You have, even if you don't believe that Cassie was trafficked, if you don't believe that Jane was trafficked, which I think there's a good argument that Cassie was and Jane wasn't, but we'll get to that. But you have the fact that you only, and mind you, I think I mentioned this before, you only have to prove two predicate offenses to get a RICO charge. And they have him extorting Cassie's mother. He was blackmailing Cassie. So those are two things right there: blackmailing her, saying that he's going to release the S tapes, and then he extorted her mother for the $20,000. He blew up Kid Cudi's car allegedly. Um, he broke into Kid Cudi's house. That's a crime. There was the assistant who said that he made Diddy go to confront Suge Knight, and they all brought guns. I don't know what you call that, but that's a crime. There's the fact that he had Capricorn Clark, who says that he, by gunpoint, made her go to Kid Cudi's house so that they could break in. So, and then there's also the drugs. A lot of his assistants have testified that he made them get drugs for him, meet up with his dealers. So I do think that there is enough for a RICO, even if you don't believe that Cassie was trafficked or you don't believe that Jane was trafficked. He still did a lot of other things. And the conspiracy aspect of it is the fact that he was using his paid staff to do these things. His paid staff, Capricorn Clark, was a Bad Boy Entertainment employee, and he forced her to go to this crime. You have the other guy, Bad Boy employee, forced him to go to confront Suge Knight with guns. You have your paid employees that you're forcing to clean up your hotel rooms after doing freak offs, that you're paying to go meet with your drug dealers. So that right there is the RICO conspiracy, because he is using a legitimate business to commit crimes. So there's a strong possibility he's going to be convicted of RICO. The question is, does the jury see these things? I see it, but does the jury see it? That's the big question. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that Diddy is going to get a RICO charge? Let me know in the chat. This person said there's no evidence of RICO clown face. Of course there is. That's hearsay, love. Car was not proven. How do you know it was an old girlfriend? Everybody testifying was fired by him, right? No. A lot of the people who testified have quit. So the one that went to the Suge Knight the Suge Knight thing. He quit after that because he felt his life was in danger. There was another assistant who testified that he quit because he felt he disagreed morally with helping Diddy cover up beating up Cassie. This assistant many times had to go buy like creams to make the bruises heal faster. He had to like tend to Cassie when she was being basically held hostage in hotel rooms while her injuries healed. There was occasions where he had to buy makeup to cover up her bruises and injuries, and so that was why he quit. So a lot of these assistants quit. I don't think any of them were fired. I think they all quit. Watching you from Brazil. Hello. Hello from Brazil. The interview with Diddy and Biggie is crazy. Your skin's so soft. He's going to jail, but it's still a bullshit case. I'll be honest. I think Diddy is guilty of worse. I do think Diddy is guilty of doing worse things. I think this is a I think this is a smokescreen. Yeah. So going back to Jane's testimony. So like I said, they brought this entertainer from Atlanta to New York, and they do a freak off, and they spend the weekend in New York, and they never end up going to Bahamas. Diddy had promised to take her to Bahamas. They never went to Bahamas. This particular incident, the prosecution is trying to use to prove it's trafficking because it's trafficking by fraud because she was promised that it was just going to be the two of them, that and then afterwards they'll go to Bahamas. However, when she's already on the plane in transit to go see him, that's when he starts like basically pressuring her to do a freak off, and they end up doing one because she feels obligated to do one. So the prosecution was trying to present this as trafficking by fraud. Now, what hurts her story is the fact that she was the one who contacted Sly. She messaged him and said, "Hey, do you want to come to New York to do a freak off?" So will the jury see that as trafficking? I don't know. So something else that, yeah, something else that happened was that in October of 2023, Diddy messaged Jane asking her to arrange a hotel night. However, Jane was furious because Diddy was with his ex, Gina. She responded to Diddy telling him to do the hotel night with the ex, Gina. And Jane texted him saying that she isn't a P star and he was desensitizing her to sex. Now, Gina was supposed to testify against Diddy, and she's gone incognito. She's gone. She's missing. Someone needs to check underneath her pillow. They need to check underneath her pillow. They need to check her bank account. They need to check wherever she's at. They need to go check everything. This girl was clearly paid off. And there's someone else who testified this week that I think was also paid off, and I'll talk about them later. But yeah, Gina was dating Diddy for a very long time because Gina was actually a problem when he was dating Cassie. And I think they broke up in like 2018 is when Cassie and Diddy broke up. And now in 2021, he's dating, this is 2023. He's dating Jane, and once again, Gina's a problem. So Gina's been around for a long time. Gina's seen a lot. She knows a lot. She's endured a lot, and so she was a very valuable witness for the prosecution, and she's gone missing. So, like I said, they need to check her bank account, check underneath her pillow. She's been paid, 1,000%, allegedly, speculation. So yeah, so Jane was upset that Diddy was with Gina, and so they were texting for like 2 days, arguing. And Jane texted Diddy saying that the other woman, didn't have to be effed in these random hotel rooms. He was giving these other women love and romance. Meanwhile, Jane had to earn hers. So once again, Jane was expressing jealousy at how she was being treated in comparison to the other women. I do think it goes without saying that one thing that probably also upset her, I think, is that these women that Diddy was um, messing around with, some of them were younger. Uh, Jada's like almost 40 and doing these freak offs with this man to get her bills paid. Meanwhile, these young girls in her mind don't have to do these freak offs, and they get to go, frolic around in all these different places with this billionaire. Meanwhile, this woman who's almost 40 has to be in hotel rooms doing these things to get her rent paid. So I think that really upset her. At this point, they've been together for 3 years. So after this whole thing happened with Gina, Jane was texting Diddy saying that she needed a spiritual break because sex is sacred to her. Says the woman. Never mind. I won't even go there. I won't even go there. So she says that sex is sacred to her, and Diddy responded by asking to spend the day with her. And she asked him, "Are you just gonna love bomb me?" All right. So they continue the back and forth. At one point, Diddy said he was coming over to our house. He saw it as his house because he was paying the bills. Jane ended up attending a concert with Diddy, then having a sobriety party. So Jane really wanted Diddy to stop using drugs. And he's like, okay, fine, I will, but let's just do one last hotel night. Let's just go all out. Let's have lots of fun. And then afterwards, I'll stop doing drugs. So they have this sobriety party. And this this particular night, Jane didn't take any pills or powders or potions because she was sober. And that night, they had their escapades with two different men. And at one point, Jane threw up, and Diddy told her to keep going. So this particular incident was brought up because once again they're trying to paint the picture that Jane's not a willing participant because after she threw up, Diddy's still egging her on to keep going, saying, "Let's finish with a bang." He doesn't care. He doesn't care that she's physically ill. He still wants to keep going. So the prosecution is trying to use this to paint the picture that she was being coerced into freak offs because she didn't have the right to stop it even when she was physically sick. The prosecution went through a number of text exchanges between Jane and Diddy. Jane saying she doesn't want to do these hotel nights. She feels used. She says she's not Cassie. She's not Gina. She said Diddy is using the rent as a manipulation tactic to keep her doing the hotel nights. And Diddy's responses to her they were dismissive. He's calling her crazy, saying she is a willing participant and wanted it. He reminded her that on many occasions she was the one who selected which escorts to reach out to. And he said that if anyone looked at the videos, they would see that she consented to it. Now, Jane, during Jane's testimony, they have been showing clips and still images from these freak offs or these hotel nights. And the jury has gotten to see them. The public doesn't get to see them, but the jury does. So I'm very curious to see if the jury is going to agree or disagree that shoot, I hope my camera doesn't die. That Gina's a victim based off of seeing the videos. Um, I'm oh my gosh, I hope my camera doesn't die. If my camera dies, I'm gonna have to stream from my laptop camera, which is not that great. Let's see what happens. So let me see. I caught the light. Let me just see your guys' messages. Her consent does not exonerate him. Secret to who? To you, girl. Bye. I agree. SCX is secret to exactly nobody involved here. I mean, WTF? Bad boy can't stop, won't stop. Not just a model, but a lifestyle. This person said 40 LOL. Too much voluntary stuff for money. Rico has to be proven, and Rico is a criminal enterprise. Being an a-hole and controlling are not the charges. But like I said, he had his paid staff doing things like meeting up with drug dealers. So that's a crime. You can't have your paid staff go meet with drug dealers, go hold your girlfriend hostage because she's healing from the injuries that you caused her. There's Rico here. I'm with Cat Williams. All deviants should and will be exposed. Cat spoke this into existence. She just didn't know when to quit. It was doomed from the very beginning. Yeah. I caught the live stream. Yes, yes, yes. Diddy wrong and going to jail, but to be honest, the only ones I feel bad for is the babies in this. Whoever who will never get justice, not the host squabbling over who is the biggest hoe. I agree. That's what really pisses me off about this. I strongly believe Diddy is guilty of doing worse things. I strongly believe that. I think this whole thing is just a smoke show. It's a distraction. I think it's to give people some sense of justice, but I do think that he's done worse things. There was Tania who testified that she was at one of his free offs, and there were, in her words, she said, little people who shouldn't have been there, and they were dressed wearing Harajuku girl makeup. And like watching her say that, I believed her. She was very reluctant to name too many celebrities. She felt uncomfortable saying it. I think she was being honest. And I think Diddy is getting away with much, much worse. Sorry, guys, give me 1 second. Okay. So, um, so during their relationship, they would do something called movie nights where they would watch their own freak off videos. And at one point, Jane had even purchased a TV, a mobile TV. I didn't even know this was a thing. So, oh my God. Okay, so my camera died. Can you guys see me? Let me know if you guys can see me. And if you can hear me. Okay. I have a Sony camera. Can't hear it. You can hear me. Okay, well, if you guys are saying yes, I'm assuming you can hear me. My camera died. That's annoying. Okay. But at least we have a backup. So, let me, should I charge it? I'll leave it alone. Okay. So, sorry. Yeah, so they would have, yeah, she bought him a mobile TV so that they could watch, so that he could watch these movie nights while he was traveling. I'm looking at the wrong camera. Okay, she bought these mobile TVs so that he can watch the videos by himself. I guess she was of the impression that if he had this mobile TV where he can watch their videos, he wouldn't want to do these hotel nights with other women because his urges will be satisfied by rewatching these videos. And one thing that I've been thinking about, just like listening to the testimony, like I've been reading a lot of it, and a lot of it is very explicit. And a part of me wonders if Diddy's sitting there in the courtroom getting aroused by the testimony, because they're like even like when Cassie was testifying, she was talking about like the high heel shoes and the red lighting and the outfits that she was wearing and the things she had to do. And Jane is saying the same things, giving very explicit details. There's probably a part of Diddy that likes it, that likes sitting there and listening to this testimony after having spent X amount of months in prison. Dirty man. Okay, so one thing that Jane mentioned during her testimony is that she uses her phone as like a diary. So she would write notes to herself, and sometimes she would take these notes and she would send them to Diddy. Other times they would just stay in her phone. And so she wrote in her notes that she knew she was consenting and he didn't know that she didn't want it. So this is something that they actually read in the courtroom. She testified that when she was dating Diddy, when Cassie filed, oh my gosh. She testified that she was dating Diddy when Cassie filed her lawsuit. Jane said 3 pages from Cassie's lawsuit were similar to her experience with Diddy, and she felt sympathy for what Cassie went through. Jane testified that she texted Diddy after reading the lawsuit. And she said that she texted Diddy after reading the lawsuit, and she said 4 in one night, and now I'm going to the doctor. So she's trying to guilt trip Diddy for the stuff that she was doing in these freak offs after she read Cassie's lawsuit. Um, 3 days later, she sent another text. So when she sent that text message, Diddy never responded. 3 days later, she sent another text and she tells Diddy that she's traumatized and she accuses him of gaslighting her. The jury then listened to a recorded conversation between Diddy and Jane. I wasn't able to find that audio. It'll probably get leaked soon. A lot of things have leaked. So this particular phone call was on Christina Quorum's phone, which is Diddy's assistant. Christina Quorum's phone was seized at Miami Airport, and there's a lot of evidence that they got from her cell phone. And Jane testified that she didn't know that this conversation was being recorded, which is pretty ironic because during the conversation, Diddy asked her if she's recording the phone call, which she wasn't. On the phone call, Diddy sounded nervous and anxious, and he can be heard writing down notes. And he asked her if she was recording, which she wasn't. He was recording her. And so I have some of the transcripts of what was said. I don't have the actual audio, but I have the transcripts of what Diddy was saying in this conversation. And so he goes, "This is when I need you to be there for me. You know, we did all that shit together." So Jane interrupts Diddy and she goes, "Who's there for me when I have these effed up things in my head? I'm feeling so manipulated. What do I do with that feeling? Who's there for me?" Diddy responded by saying, "Let's go through this together." Jane said, "It's just crazy that I was saying all this." And then Diddy interrupts her and he's like, "I don't want to go down that road." So they end up getting off the phone, and then he calls her back and Diddy says, "I need your friendship right now. I can't even talk on the phone. Please don't send no texts." He once again says to Jane, "I need your friendship. I need you." Jane says, "That was so fucked up. That was so effed up, sorry." And Diddy interrupts her again and says, "I just needed to tell you that I need your friendship. You know, you ain't got to worry about nothing else. You feel me?" And so when he's saying you don't got to worry about nothing else, Jane is taking that to mean that he's gonna give her money. And at another point, he was texting her saying, like, "If you want to punish me financially. Like, what do you want? What money do you want from me so you don't sue my ass, so you don't go public? What do you want?" And so I think it was like $100,000 that she had said she wanted from him in order to not go public, not file a lawsuit or anything like that. Once again in the conversation, he's saying, "Please pray for me. I need your friendship." Prayers ain't gonna save Diddy. Prayers are not gonna save Diddy. So let me see the chat. So I saw someone talking about Diddy. Oh, Diddy is a CUCK. That actually comes up in the trial. Like literally that exact verbatim, those words come up during the trial. Also, while I have your guys' attention, please make sure you hit the like button on this live stream. Dude could be behind the murder of Pac and Biggie. Someone said that he was paid. What's the guy's name? I can't think of the guy's name. Keefe D. Keefe D says that Diddy was behind it and paid him. This person, he isn't being charged with domestic abuse, though. He's being charged in part for using company funds to buy drugs. Rhymes with Constitution. The S-Talk is to corroborate these illegal activities. Exactly. And of course, to destroy his reputation and credibility. Yeah. This is all epic. Knitting sounds more appealing. Salute to the goddess. Thank you. She was cheaper than Cass. Oh my gosh. Praying for a demon is cray cray. Yeah. Yeah. So that phone call was damage control. Like he was just afraid that she was going to come forward with allegations because he had her do some similar things. But there is a big difference between Jane's relationship and Cassie's relationship with Diddy. Cassie, on a regular basis, was going through DV. Whereas there's only one incident where there was a physical altercation between Diddy and Jane, which I'll talk about in a moment. So the I think there's more of an argument that Cassie was a victim than Jane, because Jane's motivations was more so money. Like, she says it many times during her testimony that she wanted money and she wanted a relationship with him. Whereas Cassie was saying that he was blackmailing me. I was afraid he was gonna beat me if I didn't do it. So I think there's more of an argument for Cassie being a victim than Jane. Okay, so that was in November. So that whole Cassie situation with the lawsuit and the CNN video being leaked all happened around the November 2023 timeframe. They end up taking a break in their relationship. And also at this time, Christina Karam, Diddy's chief of staff, she also wanted Diddy to take a break from Jane. Jane testified that Christina, aka KK, didn't like her. So she also was rooting for them to break up. And she didn't want, or it wasn't really a relationship, but rooting for them to break up. And she was also vocal in them not talking to each other in this time frame. So from November of 2023 to February of 2024, they're not in communication with each other. During this time, Jane begins doing OF. She has a OF account. She had testified that during her relationship with Diddy, she had spoken to him about doing OF, and he said he didn't want her to do it, so she didn't do it. And she says that Diddy was preventing her from working. So she didn't do OF at that time, but when they're on their little break, she starts doing OF. She's getting brand deals from people so she can like model their clothing. She's making her own money. Meanwhile, even though they're broken up, Diddy's still paying her rent. He never, ever, ever stopped paying her rent to this day. Okay. But so during that time, they're broken up. She's making money, still getting her $10,000 rent paid. And then in February of 2024, Diddy reached out to her, because that's when her birthday is, saying that he wanted to see her for her birthday. Initially, she responded by saying that she was traumatized by her previous birthday spent with Diddy because he made her do freak offs. But she actually did end up seeing him for her birthday. They had a 5-course dinner, and then they took the pill E. I'm trying not to say the words, the pill E. And then Diddy asked if she wanted to see Dawn. Dawn is one of the entertainers that they used. And I think it was Dawn and Paul. Jane had testified that those were 2 entertainers that she liked. She found them attractive. She found them charming. And so whenever they were going to do these hotel nights, she had particular ones that she liked to reach out to. And Dawn and Paul were 2 of the ones that she liked to reach out to, as well as Cabral, who lived in Atlanta. So they're at her birthday dinner. They're whatever they have E, and then Diddy asked her. I think they're being intimate at this time, and Diddy asked her if she wants to call Dawn, and she agreed. And so they had a hotel night with Dawn. And so after this, they had rekindled their relationship, if you want to call it that. And they're back in business as usual, doing these freak offs, and he's continuing to pay her expenses, like getting her nails done, whatever she wants, she gets. However, at this time, Diddy's life is falling apart. Keep in mind, at this time, Diddy's house was raided. His house got raided in March. I think it was March of 2024 is when his house got raided. So she's dating this man. Meanwhile, he's being investigated by the FBI. And then all these people started filing lawsuits. Lil Rod filed a lawsuit. There was another woman who filed a lawsuit as a Jane Doe, but then she ended up having to come forward because the court said she has to reveal her identity. So all these lawsuits are happening. Diddy's being investigated by the FBI, and he's still doing freak offs and taking drugs. And during this time, so remember how I showed you the pictures of the escort who is a chef and also a P-star. So he started blackmailing them. So what happened was, one of the times that they were doing a hotel night, Diddy accidentally used Sly's phone and took a video of the freak off of the hotel night. And Sly he kept that video. And so when the shit is hitting the fan, Diddy's being investigated by the FBI, Cassie's lawsuit happened, all these lawsuits are happening. Sly reached out to Jane and said, by the way, I have this video of a freak off, and I am going to put it out on the dark web. And so he was extorting them, and he told Jane that he wanted $10,000. And so Jane contacts Diddy, and I think she calls him about this extortion attempt. And she's talking to Diddy. She says, "Hey, Diddy, this guy has a freak off tape." Diddy's crying, and he's like, get legal involved, get the lawyers involved to handle this. So Jane ended up contacting Sly back, and she's like, "I'm not dealing with you. I'm not dealing with you. You're extorting me. I thought you were a good person. You're not a good person. I want nothing to do with you." And so Sly ended up selling that that tape to a tabloid. And so, sorry, I think earlier I had said that the CNN tape happened around the same time as the Cassie lawsuit. That's incorrect. It wasn't at that time. The Cassie lawsuit happened in November, but now in 2024 is when the CNN tape comes out. So right after, Sly is trying to extort them, and then they say no, like, leave us alone, and he sells it to the media. Before that, the S tape could be leaked, the tape of Cassie came out at the Intercontinental Hotel. So now Diddy's really freaking out. Like him and Jane are just bonding over the fact that Diddy's world's crumbling. He's crying, he's depressed, he's taking drugs, and he's still doing these freak offs to help his mental state. Yeah. So when the Diddy tape came out, sorry, the Intercontinental Hotel tape came out, and Diddy and Jane were in bed together at Diddy's house. They're sleeping, they're in bed. Diddy gets a knock on the door, and one of his sons is like, "You need to see this." And so that's how Diddy learned that this Intercontinental tape was being played on CNN. He was in bed with Jane, and one of his sons told him. So they're freaking out, and everyone huddles together to do like crisis management. So Jane was there witnessing this. His sons are there, his staff is there, everyone's together is there trying to figure out, how do we fix this? How do we handle this? What do we do? And Diddy ended up doing several drafts of his apology video, the same video that we all saw where he's looking in the camera and he's saying how he's an addict and he needs to go to rehab, blah, blah, blah. That same tape, there was like a bunch of other versions of it. So he had multiple versions that he did, multiple drafts. And Jane testified that she saw the other drafts. And in the other drafts, Diddy actually did say Cassie's name. However, his lawyers advised him not to use that version because she's going to end up, he was being investigated by the FBI. And his lawyer said, well, she's going to end up being a witness against you. So don't say her name. So that's why the video that was released didn't have Cassie's name in it. And Jane says that they had asked her what was her opinion on the video. And she said she didn't think it was sincere. She thought the other one seemed more sincere. She didn't think the one that was published was sincere, but then they struck that testimony. So technically, the jury is not allowed to consider that she said that. But we all know she said it. Let me check the chat. Oh my, it's already an hour in. I know, I just noticed that. Oh my gosh, and I still have so much more to tell you guys. Okay. Sylvester Stallone, no. No. His name is Cabral, but his nickname is Sly. Sly really living up to his name. You should be embarrassed of what you are doing, blatantly lying. I must say it is disgusting, and I hope you never put in a situation like this. What am I lying about? Yeah. Bye. So, in the testimony, someone recommended for him to rehab in Thailand. home of the lady boys. Yeah. I mean, I guess it would. Well, it was Jane who said that. She had recommended that he goes to, oops. Oh, sorry. That was an accident. So yeah, so it was Jane who had recommended that. Damn, she must be good. He's still paying the rent. Okay, so Yeah. Going back to her testimony. So Jane continued her relationship with Diddy, and she told a story about an altercation that they got into in June of 2024. This is a very important story. They were trying to use this story once again to paint the picture that Jane was a trafficking victim. So they're in Jane's home. It's just the two of them, and they're drinking champagne and tequila when Jane confronts Diddy about a family trip that he went on to, I believe it was to Utah, and she starts accusing Diddy of bringing a woman that was between the ages of 18 and 21. That is legal age, but Jane was upset and she started calling Diddy a PDF file. And so she's calling him like a PDF file. She's saying he's disgusting, saying he's a monster. She Diddy, at this point, there's no physical contact yet. Diddy had bent down to tie his laces, and he was near a marble counter, and Jane slammed his head into the marble counter, and she starts throwing candles at him, throwing glass at him, and at this point, Jane still has like Diddy still hasn't put hands on Jane, right? But she's like he got wax on him. She got wax on him when she threw the candle at him. The argument is escalating, and Jane then runs to her master bedroom and she locks herself in the master bedroom. Diddy's pissed and he starts kicking down the door. And so then she hid in her bathroom. And once again, Diddy kicks down the door, and then she hides in the closet. While she's in the closet, she changes her clothing, and Diddy kicks down the door. And Jane said that Diddy had her in a chokehold, and then she managed to wiggle her way out of it, and she got away. So she runs outside. Mind you, Jane lives in a gated community, which is relevant to the story later. But she lives in a gated community. She runs outside. She has no purse. I think she was wearing high heels, and she had to take off her high heels and run barefoot. She has no purse. Hold on. So she just walks around her house in shoes. Is this a common thing in America? I see on like sitcoms and stuff like that where people are always wearing shoes in their house. Is this common in America, or is this just a Jane thing? I need to know. But anyways, so she took off her shoes, her high heels. She's running. She has no purse. She has no phone. And she hid for what felt like 2 hours, hoping that Diddy would leave. And she goes back, and Diddy's still there. And the two of them continued fighting. They're fighting in the yard. They're in the grass. Diddy's punching her and punching in her head, punching her all over her body. She's hitting him back. And she says that Diddy didn't sustain any injuries, but she did. She at some point she's throwing candles again, throwing the glass. This is like this physical altercation was like pretty intense. And Jane took Diddy's phone and she calls the woman that she accused Diddy of being on that trip with. And so Diddy then has her pinned on the ground and is holding the phone. And Jane is listening to this woman insult her. And then Jane, so they're insulting each other back and forth. And then Jane's like, he's beating my ass right now. And so Diddy hung up the phone and they continue fighting. This went on for a while, and then Diddy ends up calling his assistant, Jonathan Perez, and he has Jonathan Perez on FaceTime, and he asked Jonathan Perez to confirm that this girl was not on the family trip with him. Jonathan Perez confirms it, and so Diddy hangs up the phone, and everything kind of cools down a bit. Jane's at this point, they're fighting in the grass, they're sweaty, they're whatever. So Jane goes and takes a shower. And I believe Diddy was inside the shower with her, still wearing pants, but in the shower with her. Now, when she was telling the story the first time, when the prosecution had her on the stand, she didn't include this part. But later on, when the defense was doing cross-examination, they brought this part up and then she admitted to it. So while they're in the shower, she's calling Diddy a PDF file, calling him names. So Diddy is, sorry, I shouldn't even laugh. It's not funny. But Diddy is slapping her. And they're fighting in the shower. The fight goes on for a while. Once again, the altercation eventually cools down, and Diddy's telling her to get ready for a freak off. Jane says that she had bruises under her eye. She had a black eye. She also says that she had a golf ball size knot on her forehead. So Diddy tells her to basically put on your outfit, which is put on your lingerie, get ready for a freak off. You're not going to ruin my night. And so Diddy then took her phone to message Antoine. Antoine is one of the escorts that they use for freak offs. He's the same one that was in Vegas. This is the same one that was in Vegas, right? And so Diddy is looking in the phone, and then he starts seeing the conversations between Jane and Antoine, where they're talking about having mutual friends, talking about Vegas. And so Diddy's pissed because now he thinks she's cheating on him, and he's impersonating Jane, saying, hey, come over, I want to see you, whatever. So Antoine agrees to come over, and Jane lives in a gated community, so she had to drive her car to the front gate to let Antoine in. And the defense brought this up on cross-examination. They're saying, well, you live in a gated community, so if you were really, if you didn't want to do this freak off, you had to drive your car. At that point, you could have told Antoine what was going on, or you could have just left. You're in your car. You could have left and just left Diddy in your house. And Jane kind of got upset at this line of questioning. But, sticking to the timeline, Antoine's there. They're having a conversation. And then Diddy instructs Jane to perform OS on Antoine. Jane does it. Diddy's in the corner diddling himself. It ends, and Diddy calls her a ho ho ho. Something else that also happened. Sorry, but let me back up. So Antoine's there. They're having a conversation, and Diddy brings Jane into another room, and he tells her to take an e-pill. And Jane said that she didn't want to do it, and then Jane said she didn't want to do this at all. She didn't want to do this. Is something that she testified to. She said she didn't want to do it at all. And Diddy's telling her, you have to take this pill, and you're going to go out and you're going to do this freak off. And he asks her, this is what she testified to. He asked her, is this coercion? And she looked at him, and she didn't say anything. And she said she took the pill, and she followed Diddy's instructions. She goes out. She performs OS on Antoine, and she says she felt disgusted by this. When they're finished, Diddy called her a ho ho ho, and he left. And he had his security pay Antoine and Jane because he damaged Jane's doors. Now, they actually show these pictures in court of what Jane's doors looked like after this altercation. So Diddy had given a couple $1,000 for the security to give to Jane, so Jane could give some of the money to Antoine and keep some of the money for herself to fix the doors. Jane kept the money; she didn't fix the doors. I wonder if her doors are still broken to this day. But she never fixed the doors. She pocketed the money. So let me just show you guys these are the doors. So this is from TMZ. So he kicked open the door. This is the damage he caused. These are the government photos. So the screws coming out. Yeah. I have to say, I was looking at the photos and I'm like, she's paying $10,000 a month for this place. Like, you can't see the whole thing. But like, if you're paying $10,000 a month to live in a house, like, this place better have gold doors, like gold plated doors. Like, what is this? They should have steel doors for $10,000 a month. So that's the damage that Diddy caused. So they're trying to say that this particular incident was trafficking because they had gotten into a physical altercation, and so Jane felt like she couldn't say no. And then Diddy had literally, in her words, had coerced her into taking this e-pill and doing the freak off. So yeah, those are the pictures of the damaged doors that she never paid for to get replaced. She just pocketed the money. Yeah. This person has said, I am repelled by this. None of this sounds fun, sexy, interesting. There's some Naked Gun type humor. No, seriously, this is very characteristic of a drug addict. What makes this newsworthy? What makes newsworth is a drug addict with money and celeb. Diddy doing the diddly squat these days. I'm blessed that none of this is relatable. Diddy is a deviant. Brother love is emotional. Yeah. So, yeah, they're trying to use this particular incident to paint it as trafficking. What do you guys think? If you were on the jury, based off of the fact that she instigated the fight, yes, he's a man. He shouldn't put hands on her. First of all, they shouldn't put hands on each other. No woman should be putting her hands on a man. No man should be putting his hands on a woman. So they're both in the wrong. But this is different in a sense because she instigated it. But you could also make the argument that, well, she still felt threatened by him because he's much bigger than her, much stronger than her. He was now his blood's boiling. He's in a rage. Yes, she instigated the fight, but now she does have reason to be afraid of him. Would you say that this whole situation constitutes trafficking? What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. Guilty, 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 yes. Sammy the Bull says RICO can cause this case to fail. State charges are enough to incarcerate for decades. That's interesting. Never try to figure out vegan warriors making the funniest comments today. Never try to figure out domestic goofiness. Maybe trafficking, but not beyond reasonable doubt, to be honest. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. Because in a criminal trial, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. And I do feel like there's still some doubt. I'm not confident. Like if I were on the jury, I wouldn't say beyond a reasonable doubt that this woman was coerced every single time and there was nothing else motivating her. Like the fact that she said many times on the stand, this is my lover, and I wanted to make him happy. She said many times on the stand that what upset her about the freak offs was that the other girls didn't have to do them, or that she didn't believe the other girls had to do them. That was her motivation. That was what upset her. Not just that she had to do them, but that the other girls didn't have to do them. She said that many, many, many times on the stand. This person said, in his own words, is this coercion? I know. I mean, what? Do I believe that Diddy said that to her in the other? I don't know. I don't know. So the defense. Okay, so something else. There was like there was TMI. I felt like a lot of this testimony was a little TMI. So okay. Oh, hold on. Before I go over to the defense's cross examination of her, so Jane described another time when they were going to have a freak off. She was tired, and Diddy, and she was tired and she didn't want to do it. And then Diddy threw water on her, called her a bitch, and gave her liquid Molly. And she said that the liquid Molly gave her energy, and then they had a freak off. So once again, they're trying to use this as proof of trafficking because she didn't want to do it. He gave her drugs, and then she ended up getting coerced into doing it. We also learned that the day Diddy was arrested, she was planning on going to New York, but canceled because of his arrest. And when Diddy was arrested, they found drugs in his hotel room. They found Astroglide. They found lots of baby oil. I believe they found like high heels and stuff. So Diddy was planning on doing one of these king nights or these hotel nights the day he was arrested. So those are the highlights from her direct testimony. Something else that we learned this came up during cross-examination. So during cross-examination, the defense started off by establishing that she's testifying with immunity, and they tried to assert that she chose to participate in this lifestyle, and that the reason she participated in this lifestyle was because she just wanted to keep her relationship with Diddy. She didn't want to break up. And when they asked her, like they literally asked her this in court, like, would you say that you participated in this lifestyle because you didn't want to break up with Diddy? And she said yes. On the stand, she said yes. But she said, however, she resented the emotional control that Diddy had over her. Jane testified that she loved spending time with him. She loved giving him foot rubs. Apparently, when she said this, Diddy was smiling in court when she said that she loves giving him foot rubs. And she said she loves watching his favorite show with him, which was Dateline, which I thought was very interesting, because usually women like to watch true crime. It's usually a woman thing, but he likes to watch true crime. He likes Dateline. She said she enjoyed the love making with him that would happen after the freak off. She said she didn't care to be having these moments with the entertainers. She really wanted to be with Diddy. And I guess after the entertainers left, the two of them would have their own intimate moments and they would be together. And she liked that. That's why she did the freak offs, because afterwards she would get alone time with him. The defense. Oh, she also said that during these freak offs, they would do role play. Like, for example, like a role play where, like, this is his wife that he caught cheating on him in a hotel. So she said they did a lot of role play. Diddy was directing it. The defense brought up an incident that happened around New Year's of 2022. Jane did a freak off with 3 men for Diddy. And shortly after that, she saw that he had gone on vacation with Gina. She demanded Diddy end the trip with Gina, or else she wouldn't do any freak offs with him, because Valentine's Day was coming up. And so this would have been close to her birthday, because her birthday's in February. And I think, So she said that if he needs to end the trip early, or she's not doing the freak offs. And so Diddy did end up ending the trip early. And Valentine's Day came around. This was in 2022. And she ended up surprising Diddy with a hotel night with 2 entertainers. She said she did this because she wanted to ensure Diddy spent Valentine's Day with her, not the other woman. Following this, in February 2022, there was a 2-month period during which Diddy and Jane continued to see each other, but they didn't have freak offs. On one occasion during this time, Diddy asked to do one. Jane said she didn't want to. And Diddy said, it's all good. Now, remember earlier when I said, like, the defense and the prosecution kept cherry picking parts of the story? So the defense left it at that. However, when the prosecution came up and they did a recross, they said, okay, so yes, you told Diddy you didn't want to do this. And he responded, it's all good. But then they presented text messages that Jane literally didn't know existed. She found out on the stand that moment that these text messages existed. Diddy then went and messaged, I believe it was Dawn, one of the other entertainers. He messaged him and was like, hey, can you persuade her to do a hotel night? And so then the other entertainer reaches out to her and persuades her to do it. So she, in her head, she's thinking that Diddy's more understanding. He's okay if I don't want to do it. Meanwhile, he still wanted her to do it. He did it a sneaky way. And so not too long after that whole 2-month period, they start resuming doing the hotel nights. And one thing that was brought up on cross-examination was that Diddy invested $20,000 in her clothing line. And this was brought up to refute the prosecution's claim that Diddy was preventing her from making money, because she had testified that she wanted to do OF and Diddy told her not to do it. And she's like, well, what was me? I have no time. I have to do my nails. I have to do my hair. I have to go to the gym. I have to make sure I look good for Diddy. I'm spending all of my time looking good for Diddy. I have no time to work. No time. I cannot. Right? And so the prosecution is saying, well, you had a clothing line. Or sorry, the defense is saying you had a clothing line and Diddy invested in it. And so you could make money. You chose to invest all of your time taking care of yourself and then doing these freak offs. She was also making money from OF starting in 2024. And she says that she could make from $10,000 to $50,000 a month. And at this time, she was also getting child support. Now, originally, when she was getting child support from her baby daddy, I'm not supposed to say the name, she's supposed to be anonymous, but from her baby daddy, she was initially getting $40,000 a month. And she said that's not enough. And so they went to court, and then they ended up lowering the child support to like $6,000 a month. At the time, it was 6,700. I think it might be a little bit lower now, but I think she testified that she receives around $6,000 a month in child support from her child's father. And this is separate from the money that Diddy's paying her. Mind you, he's paying her rent, and he is also giving her like spending money. He's paying her expenses. And the defense stated that during their 3.5-year relationship, Diddy gave her $150,000. Right. So they asked her to confirm that that's how much money you've gotten. And she's like, well, I would assume. So they're trying to paint the picture that you could have worked. You just chose not to because Diddy was funding your life. And mind you, I believe that $150,000 was not including the rents that he was paying. And Jane testified that the home that she was renting was chosen with Diddy in mind. Diddy would come over and do these freak offs, and so she wanted the home to be up to his standards. And so, she would, while she was looking for a house to rent, she's texting Diddy and saying, "I like this one. This is how much the deposit's going to be. This is what the place looks like." And Diddy's saying, "Okay, great." And so Diddy paid her first month's rent, he paid her last month's rent, and he had to put a 2-month rent deposit. Okay. So in total, he paid $40,000 just for her to have this place. And so the reason that the defense brought this up is because she has basically 3 months rent banked. So if Diddy decided he's not going to pay her rent, there's still those 2 months rent deposit that the landlord has plus last month's rent. So she would have 3 months to figure out her finances in the event Diddy said he was no longer going to pay her rent. So it's basically they're presenting it as it's disingenuous for her to say that she had to do these hotel nights in order to not to continue having a roof over her head. Because if Diddy stopped paying her that day, there would still be another 3 months where she could figure things out. On top of the fact that she has all these other sources of income. So the defense then turned their attention to something that she had previously testified to, the occasion where she told Diddy that she didn't want to have sex with other men. And Diddy said if she doesn't want to do it, then he's only willing to... I spoke about that, sorry. I covered that. Oh, no, sorry, no. So the defense turned their attention to something she had previously testified to. So she said that there was an occasion where she told Diddy that she didn't want to do freak offs anymore. And Diddy was like, well, I mean, if you're not going to do these freak offs with me, well, then what is the point in me paying your rent? Like, I guess I'm only good for another 3 months in the event that you don't want to do these anymore. So she would have those 3 months plus the additional 3 months that were banked. So she would actually have 6 months. She would have 6 months worth of rent where she doesn't have to worry about anything. So on that occasion, when she is threatening Diddy to say she doesn't want to do these freak offs, and Diddy was saying, well, I'll only pay 3 more months, technically she would still have 6 months in her house to figure out her financial situation. So she really wasn't under financial pressure to continue doing these freak offs. That's what the defense was trying to argue to the jury. The defense also brought up text messages and voice notes that they exchanged after their trip to Turks and Caicos early on in their relationship. Jane was saying how much fun she had in Turks and Caicos, and that's when they entered into the love contract. I played the clip for you guys early, where Diddy said, "Get in your bag," and Jane was like really excited. She was so happy. She was so happy to be in this arrangement, knowing full well that the reason she entered into this arrangement is because Diddy enjoys being intimate with her. That was the nature of their agreement. And so they presented text messages to say that she knew that and she was okay with it. So the defense showed the jury photos and videos of them on trips, having fun and enjoying each other's company to show the jury that this was a real relationship. And they also mentioned that at one point Diddy had surgery. and Jane was there to take care of him. She was at the house taking care of him. He was on crutches, and she was, she says that the reason she did this was because this is her lover, this is her partner, and she wanted to take care of him. Once again, saying that you're not like a victim. You're not a victim. You're not a hostage in this relationship. There was love in this relationship. There was companionship. This wasn't just fully transactional. This was what the defense was trying to argue. Jane testified that she didn't like the imbalance that existed amongst Diddy's many girlfriends. She said that she was upset that Diddy got Young Miami a Maybach. And so she requested that Diddy buy her a Van Cleef necklace or bracelet. Now, Van Cleef is a very expensive jeweler. And she said that she wanted this because she wanted to be treated more equally. Once again, pointing to the fact that she is in this relationship because she cares about money. Jane also testified that after spending 20 days in Turks and Caicos with Diddy, she left and returned home. Diddy stayed in Turks and Caicos, and then he flew in other women. And when Jane saw this, she got upset. She called the other women insults. She said that she did this because she was jealous about her man, her lover. She wanted him to be all hers. This was something that she said in court. So the defense, they literally spent like 3 days getting her to reiterate that there was jealousy about him being with other women. Now, this person is so expensive, I've never heard of it. Poor peasant me. Vendy Gold, I'm on the same page. The first time I heard about Van Cleef was when, was it Fresh and Fit? Is it Fresh? Fresh is the one that was with the girl from China. And that's when she accused him of giving her a fake Van Cleef bracelet. That was the first time I ever heard of Van Cleef. I'm not really a jewelry person. Only jewelry I wear is my Fitbit watch. I don't know. I don't even know how much Van Cleef costs, but apparently it's expensive. But yeah, the defense was really driving the point home that this relationship was motivated by money. Jane was in this relationship because she wanted the money. She wanted the expensive gifts. She wanted the trips. The trips came up many, many, many times during her testimony that she felt like, why do I have to earn trips? Why do I have to sleep with you so you'll take me on vacation? Like, that's ridiculous. That was literally like, not verbatim, but essentially what she was saying during her testimony. And this, so I saw someone point this out in the chat, that Diddy is a CUCK. This came up in court. So Jane testified that during their relationship, she couldn't really understand why Diddy was interested in watching her be intimate with other men. And so she went on the Googler, in the words of Wendy Williams, the Googler, and she looked up to figure out, like, what is this? Like, what is going on? And that's when she discovered the word CUCK. I don't want to say the word, right? We'll call it cupping. He's into cupping, okay? And so she said that when she learned this word, it perfectly described their relationship, and it gave her more of an understanding of Diddy. She said that men who are into cupping may have a curiosity, but they are too ashamed to experience these things themselves. And so they use the woman to venture out into this curiosity without actually doing the act itself. So basically, she called Diddy a closeted homosexual. That's basically what she said. She testified that when they called an entertainer over, for the first 15 to 20 minutes, they would all be talking and it'll be friendly. And she mentioned that she was okay with Diddy recording her. She trusted that no one else would see the videos, and they both got separate phones that they used to record these freak-offs. So Diddy had bought her a phone, and he got a separate phone for himself specifically to record these. Jane admitted that during these freak-offs, she would ask Diddy for instructions, and she would fake having an O because she wanted to make sure she put on a good show for him, and because she knew he was going to be watching it again later. And she confirmed that she didn't want the entertainers doing the drugs because she didn't want a stranger to be out of their mind at such a vulnerable moment. The defense confirms that during their first hotel night, when Jane asked for the entertainer to wear protection. So let me back up. I mentioned this in my previous video. So when Jane was first testifying last week, she said that during their first hotel night, she had asked for the entertainer to put on protection, and Diddy didn't want him to do it. And the defense now brought it up again to reiterate that although initially Diddy says he doesn't like the way it looks, he doesn't want you to wear it. The entertainer did put on protection. Ultimately, the entertainer did wear protection. So they just wanted to reiterate that that particular incident, she did get what she wanted ultimately. The defense asked her about her telling Diddy she wanted to end hotel nights early. And she confirms that yes, if she told Diddy that she wanted to end it early, he would respect her wishes. And they mentioned that there were 2 occasions where Jane she wasn't enjoying herself. She says the escorts had poor hygiene. One of them was sweating a lot. And so when she communicated this to Diddy, they tried to make it work a little bit, but then ultimately Diddy agreed to have that guy leave, and then they called in someone else. So once again, they're showing that Jane had agency and that her requests were respected. Now, do you guys remember that video that I showed you guys at the beginning with the AI video where it's the freak off matters, and they show Jane and there's 3 basketball players behind her. The reason that was in the AI video was because of something she said during her testimony. So during her testimony, she admitted to liking one of the entertainers named Paul. Actually, hold on. I have a picture of Paul. Do you guys want to see what Paul looks like? I have a picture of Paul. Paul is also a personal trainer. So by day, Diddy's out here doing these freak offs. During the day, Diddy's out here training with Paul. And then at night, he's here freaking off with Paul and Jane. This is Paul. Let me show you guys Paul. This is the type of men that Diddy likes. This is Paul. Trainer Paul Arthur was the 3rd member of the group's trifecta. So Jane, Diddy, and Paul call themselves the trifecta. She says that, so Jane said she was Kobe Bryant. Paul said he was Shaq, and Diddy called himself MJ. So that's why that AI video had the 3 basketball players in the background, because they call themselves the trifecta. So this is Paul. This is Diddy's man. This person said, "No, I won't be able to unsee Paul. Show it." Bald Idris. Paul. Oh my God, I'm not reading that. Dang, he looks like a better version of Diddy. That's what Diddy likes. So this was Paul is one of the entertainers that Jane liked. There's another entertainer that Jane liked. She says that she liked him because he had nice eyes and he was charming and charismatic and gentle. So that really didn't help her testimony by saying that she liked these entertainers. That really didn't help the prosecution because she admitted to liking these entertainers to some degree. So something else that was brought up was that Jane got her nipples pierced because Diddy wanted it. His assistant, KK, had arranged it. Jane went by herself and she did it. However, she didn't like it, and then it was removed. And Diddy was okay with her removing it. So this was brought up once again to show that Jane had agency, because the prosecution was trying to argue that Jane getting this piercing was coercion, and it was evidence that Diddy had control over her and that she is a trafficking victim. The defense is trying to say, well, she went by herself to get it, and when she didn't like it anymore, she removed it, and Diddy was okay with it. So those are some of the highlights from her testimony. Let me see. Is there anything more important that I need to highlight? So I would say those are most of the highlights from her testimony. She was on the stand, like I said, on the stand for 6 days. Something else that came up. Oh, this one last thing that came up was that Jane, in 2022, Jane had posted a photo to social media of a plate of food, which gave away that she was with Diddy. Diddy asked her to take the picture down, which she did. And then Gina, her arch nemesis, was then posting pictures of herself with Diddy, wearing a necklace that resembled the same Van Cleef necklace or the same Van Cleef bracelet that he got for Jane. So this upset Jane. Diddy confronted her about it. She demanded that Diddy asked Gina to remove her post. So these women are like they're like fighting with each other. This is like sister wives. Jane said that when Cassie's lawsuit came out, she had a conversation with Diddy, and he apologized for how he treated her. And he says that, "Oh, I didn't know you felt that way. I didn't know you didn't want to do these freak offs." And he asked her to be more communicative. She says that she believed he was sincere when he said this. She said after this, he was more loving and understanding. And he said, "Oh, we should go to couples therapy. We're toxic, but we have a lot of love for each other. So we should go to couples therapy." Yeah, so I would say those are the highlights from her testimony. After she got off the witness stand, she goes over to the defense. So Maureen Comey is the prosecutor. So she goes and she gives Maureen Comey a hug. And then she goes over to the defense and she gives the Tenny Garagos. So Tenny Garagos was the person who was cross-examining her. She gave Tenny Garagos a hug. And that caught Tenny Garagos off guard. Tenny Garagos wasn't expecting her to give her a hug and didn't even hug her back because she was caught off guard by it. So, yeah, those are the highlights from Jane's testimony. There's two other people who testified that I will speak about briefly. But what do you guys think about Jane as a trafficking victim? If you were on the jury, could you say beyond a reasonable doubt that you believed that Jane is a victim of trafficking? This person said that Paul looks like Joe. He actually does. What do you think about Diddy's family in this case? Janice guilty of something? You know what? Janice is weird. I have one of my previous videos. I showed a clip of Janice on a yacht with Diddy, and they're playing music and they're dancing, and then Janice turns her body to press her butt up against Diddy's back, like grinding on him, winding up on her own son. I thought that was weird. There's the video where they're both getting an IV drip, and she has white nails. And we all know that the white nails was something that Diddy liked his women to wear because I guess he likes the way it looked during these hotel nights, these freak offs. So Janice is suspect. Diddy's mom is suspect. She's weird. The craziest part of this whole thing is Jonathan Odie spilling the beans way before we heard any of this. Yes, Jonathan Odie is still in prison and he hasn't even been prosecuted. He hasn't had a trial. He's been in prison since 2018, I believe. I believe it's 2018. He's been in prison for like 7 years without a trial. And I think now they're trying to say that he's too crazy to stand trial. Jonathan Odie is being held hostage because he knows a lot. He knows a lot. Poor Kobe caught a stray. Yes, if we caught herpes. But if you read between the lines, she says she still has to get medical checkups. Ooh. I don't know, Linda. Linda, listen. I don't know, Linda. Listen, Linda. I don't know about that one. I'll go speculate. I wouldn't be surprised though, because Diddy didn't like for any of these people to wear protection. So I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. We need him to take Jonathan Odie's never getting out. We need him to take the stand. He's not getting out. He's a hostage. Unfortunately, he's a hostage. Let's see. No, Jonathan Odie hasn't testified. He's not getting out. He's not testifying. This person said Jonathan Odie also caught herpes and HIV and as a carrier. That's how he got his settlement from Diddy. I didn't hear the HIV part. I know the herpes thing. I remember that part. I'm not sure about the other part. Now you all should go to church. Yeah. So Death God says she's a victim. 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 She's a vic Everything is in Janice's name. Yeah, so when Diddy was being investigated by the feds, they started moving assets. I believe that if Diddy is convicted of RICO, they can go after his money, after his assets, because they're saying that he was using his business enterprise to commit illegal acts. So potentially, they could go after his money. This Lillian, she's a victim of of her low morals. The first time I read it, she's a victim with low morals, but she's a victim of her low morals. Yes, I believe it, because she, in my opinion, has trauma bonding. I mean, that's an argument. That is an argument, and I think that they were trying to get Don Hughes, which is the forensic psychologist. They're trying to get Don Hughes to testify again, and probably to read it, to add some weight to Jane's testimony about trauma bonding. I don't think it's going to happen. Army vet, autism mama. Gosh darn it. I didn't get a notification that you were alive. Well, I'm glad you're here now. I'm glad you're here now. Yeah. So Jonathan Odie has been charged. He just hasn't had a trial. So he was charged with shooting up the Trump Hotel, but he's never had a trial. They keep delaying the trial. I talked about this in my video about Jonathan Odie. I tried to attend the trial in person, but the hurricane happened, so everything got canceled. It was wasting my trip. But I did get to experience a hurricane, which is, it sounds weird saying that, because nothing serious happened in that particular area. It was an interesting experience, to say the least. I didn't know that people who live in hurricane areas have hurricane parties. That was something I learned while I was down in Miami. I had no idea that was a thing. But I tried to attend the trial in person the first time. Got canceled. I attended via Zoom. And literally, as soon as Jonathan Odie's name came up, the judge was like, next. Like, she didn't want to talk about it. She wanted to address it. I attended a second time, same thing. Next. As soon as his name came up, they're like, we're going to boot this to the next time. Next time we're gonna push this off for a month from now. They refuse to even address him. There's something very, very, very shady going on with the Jonathan Odie situation. Very shady. This person asked, "Are you Jamaican?" I'm half Jamaican. Yes. They won't release Odie because the Trump connection and the Boule ring he mentioned Diddy is in. Right. Exactly. Oh gosh, vegan warriors do. I'm not gonna read that. She's no victim. She was working. Not sex is sacred. Yeah, use a little sex worker. Oh my gosh, Lady K, you're too much. Yeah. Yeah. He won $5 million in a settlement. So they went into arbitration. They settled it privately. When Chick-fil-A is open, I don't go to church. Janice and Young Miami had an encounter for Diddy, and Young Miami brags how she loves golden showers. And Gina got the video. Oh, so Young Miami was doing these little freak offs. Okay. Wow, I'm on so many comments. Little sex worker. A victim of stupidity. SMFH. Look into Robin Greenhill. Yes, I saw. What's her face? There's another BJ Investigates has talked about Robin Greenhill. I have to catch up on that. I know Robin Greenhill is Diddy's accountant, and she was the one that's to this day still making sure that Jane's rent is paid. Robin Greenhill is also the accountant that was handling Britney Spears' estate. Well, not estate, she's still alive. I don't know if you call it estate, but handling Britney Spears' finances while she was in the conservatorship. So I think that there's a lot of handlers in the industry. There's a lot of handlers. I think that Diddy's security guard is also suspicious, Fahim Muhammad. He was MJ's security guard before MJ passed away. He got the job right out of college, like as a 20-year-old or 21-year-old, very young, working for the biggest superstar in the history of the world. And then all of a sudden he dies like a month later, 2 months later. Oh, dang. Miami admitted to being a ho ho ho. The HIV carrier part is part of Jonathan Oye's lawsuit he filed against Diddy, but was dismissed. Interesting. Oh my gosh, Michael Freeman, thank you so much. Please use this to help pay for. Oh my god! Oh my gosh! Please use this to pay for a trip to see part of the trial in person in New York City, even if it's for one day. You should make the trip. Don't get lost in the concrete jungle. Thank you so much. That is so kind of you. Wow. Thank you so much. Hit the like and subscribe, people. Yes, Vegan Warrior. Thank you. Okay, so I'll catch up on these in a second. There's two more people who testified I want to get to quickly. They were very short. So it's very, very, very short. So Jay testified for 6 fucking days. They had there's a guy named Andre Lamont. He testified. He was from HSI, the Department of Homeland Security investigation. So he was there when they did the raid on Diddy's houses, or sorry, his house on Star Island. He said that they found weapons, high heels, drugs, 900 bottles of Astroglide, 200 bottles of baby oil, lingerie, and many other things. They found 4 rifles, 1 pistol, and 1 shotgun in the security office. They found a shotgun where the serial number had been defaced, which is a crime. That's really what he testified to. Nothing too crazy. The next person was Jonathan Perez. That's the same guy that Diddy had FaceTimed when he was in that altercation with Jane about the trip. So Jonathan had testified that when Diddy FaceTimed him, he couldn't see Jane. And so he didn't see any injuries. I believe Jonathan was paid off. Okay. I believe he was paid off. I think Diddy thinks he's losing this case and he paid off his assistant to give some wishy-washy testimony. Jonathan Perez was a personal assistant to Diddy from 2021 to 2024. He testified that staff would get anywhere from 2 hours notice to 24 hours notice to set up a king night, which he described as Diddy's private time in a hotel with a female. He said he only worked during the day and king nights typically happened at night. So he only set up about 5 king nights. That's what he testified to in court. Jonathan brought food, liquor, music, red lights, protection, lubricant, and sometimes honey to the hotel. He says that honey enhances the man's libido. I didn't know that. He said he used company cards or cash given to him by Diddy to make these purchases. He said that after these freak-offs were over, that the staff would have to go and clean up the hotel. We've heard this before from the other assistants who've testified. Jonathan testified that on one of the king nights, when he went to go clean up, there was a Gucci pouch that was full of drugs, and he cleaned it up and he was texting about it. So they presented those text messages in court saying that he had texted the security guard. So just that was presented as evidence to show that Diddy's using his paid staff to handle illegal substances. Jonathan, let me skip over this. Jonathan obtained, he gave the drug dealer's name. So there's a drug dealer named Guido and a drug dealer named Baby Girl. None of these people have been prosecuted. Okay, so remember when Diddy's house was first raided, we saw that guy, Brendan Paul, had been arrested, and we were told that this was Diddy's alleged drug mule. Did you know they dropped the charges against him? Literally no one else is being charged for anything except for Diddy. None of these drug dealers, to the best of my knowledge, have been charged. We just have Diddy. Diddy's the only person going down, and I think that's highly suspicious. Jonathan testified that, so this is Jonathan Perez, the personal assistant, testified that Diddy's head of security managed Diddy's cash, which is Fahim Muhammad. Jonathan talked about a time at Diddy's house when a videographer found a video of Jane and another man in a hotel night, and Diddy could be seen in the background. And so Jonathan brought this to the attention of KK and Diddy. KK had said, next time, if you have an issue, don't bring it to Diddy, just come to me. And there was this was a big deal within Diddy's company because this video was on an iPad that his staff were using, and a lot of the staff had seen it or had heard about it. And they talked about it a little bit. It died down, and 6 months later, KK questioned Jonathan about the video again and how it was found. And she said that she got a call from someone outside the company, so someone who doesn't work for Diddy, talking about the video. And once again, Jonathan had no more information to give because he told her everything he knows. He said, I saw the video and I came to you about it immediately. And he says that the video looks like it was recorded on that iPad, not like it was taken from somewhere else. And so this was a conversation that was had on a phone call between KK and Jonathan. The jury heard that recording. Jonathan was cross-examined by the defense, and he said, these are his words. He says that when he set up these king nights, or when he obtained drugs for Diddy, he didn't believe he was doing it as an employee. He said that he saw this as a personal task. He said he only spent 1% of his time doing these personal tasks for Diddy. So he said, I only spent 1% of my time cleaning up these freak-offs or setting up these freak-offs or getting drugs for Diddy. I only did it 1% of the time. That's what he testified to, right? So on recross, the prosecution now says to him, Jonathan, your job title is personal assistant. And you're trying to, like, these are not their words verbatim. I'm saying this, but they're basically saying, like, you sound stupid saying that you only do personal tasks 1% of the time. Your fucking job is a personal assistant. That's what you do. You do personal things. What are you talking about? So they try to reiterate that you are a personal assistant. Your job is to do personal things. And they said, when you were doing these things, were you being paid? Like, were you on the clock? And he said, yes. So, and just to confirm that when you're on vacation, you're not out here procuring these illegal substances for Diddy. He's like, no. When you're on vacation, you're not out here setting up freak-offs. No, because your job as a personal assistant is to personally assist Diddy, right? So that's why I say I think this guy was paid off, because I thought it was very interesting that he went out of his way to say he only does personal tasks 1% of the time. That's such a stupid thing to say when your job is literally personal assistant. That's so dumb. So yeah, those are just that's what happened this week. That is what happened this week. We've been at 2 hours and 11 minutes. My gosh, you've been here for a long time. So that's what happened this week. This trial has been so eventful. I would say this week with Kanye West showing up and the whole Kid Cudi testimony, 2 very eventful weeks. Very eventful. Let's see the comments. Is there anyone else being held in the U.S. like Audie without a trial? Is that something they can do? Well, apparently, but that's an excellent question. That is an excellent question. Jonathan Odie is the smoking gun. Exactly. You can look to verify the court docket submission. It'll show as dismissed. Ah, okay. Thank you, Linda. Listen, Linda. I like your name, by the way. I wonder if there's any seats available at the Diddy trial. Me too. I know that they have an overflow room, and I don't know how big these overflow rooms are. I have no idea. Yeah, 1000% he mentioned the Illuminati. Yep, he mentioned the Illuminati and the Boule. That's what Jonathan Odie had mentioned. Yeah, Robin Greenhill is the connection to Lou Taylor, who was handling Britney Spears. When TriStar got mentioned yesterday, that was a nail in the coffin. Young Miami had to work for that Chanel bag. Jane doesn't know what the other girls had to do to get their gifts, which is true. She's making the assumption that they're not doing these things. We don't know. We don't know. Young Miami hasn't testified. Gina hasn't testified. We don't know what they had to do to earn their keep. We don't know. She's assuming. But her perception was that they didn't have to. You're amazing. Thanks for doing this. So cool to see you live. Keep being epic. Thank you so much, lovely smiles. I can't rewrite it. I can't read that out loud. What size were those heels? Were they Diddy's? Jane, I think Jane had testified that she had to wear heels that were like 6 to 7 inches tall. Great first live, love. Keep it coming. I never watch people's lives. Thank you, Vegan Warrior. You've been a little comedian in the chat. I've seen that. I'm going to be going live next weekend again. The reason I decided to do lives instead of a pre-recorded video, number one, is because it does take a lot of time to edit my pre-recorded videos. Number two, next week I have a family event. My cousin, my younger cousin, is having her first child. And so we're doing a baby shower and a gender reveal. And I'm the one who knows the gender of her baby. So I'm doing the reveal. And so next weekend, I'm going to be busy on Sunday and I won't have time to edit a video. So once again, on Saturday, I will be going live. Robin is also Britney Spears' accountant. TriStar includes Lou Daniels, also Wendy Williams. Pay attention. Ooh, I have to look into that because Wendy Williams is also being held hostage. Let me go get some honey from my hubby. Master Disasters, thank you so much. NissCee, your lives are just as good as your recorded videos. That is so rare. Please give us all a little bad boy remix before you leave. He ain't going nowhere. He ain't going nowhere. He can't get out now. He's a bad boy for life. Yeah. Oh, Diddy. Diddy. Thank you. This is my first. I was so nervous. My heart was like racing. I'm like, oh my gosh. I like, what if I miss the buttons? What if I mess up? I was afraid my camera would die, which it did. So I got to figure that out for my next live. This is why it can't be Rico, folks. Why not? Vegan Warrior. What do you mean it can't be Rico? Explain yourself. KK might be charged. I actually think so. So KK hasn't testified. I don't believe she's going to testify. I think that there's actually a possibility that the defense is going to call KK as a witness. Thank you. Is it Nicola? Thank you, Nicola. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Okay, so I'm so far behind. Okay, so did you see Kanye pull up? If so, what did you think? Yeah, I talked about that in the beginning. Kanye West came dressed for a freak off, wearing all white, like he's coming to a Diddy party. Kanye West is he was spoken about during Jane's testimony. She didn't say his name, but that he is also into the same type of lifestyle. I'm so excited to catch part of the live. I look forward to next weekend too. This was a great live. Thanks. Thank you so much, Woody Studios. We need someone to expose Chris Stokes from B2K. Chris, I think the Impressive channel actually did a video on B2K, and I think she talked about Chris Stokes, if I'm not mistaken. You are literally the world's finest Canadian. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I bet NissCee is everybody's favorite cousin. I hope so. Yeah, Rotten Mango's Diddy videos are so good. I haven't watched Rotten Mango's videos because I've been busy. Watching you all the way from Trinidad. You're amazing. Much love from Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So we've been on here for 2 hours and 17 minutes. I'm going to end the live here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, next week, I'm going to do a live again, instead of doing a pre-recorded video. After that, I don't even know when the trial's supposed to end. After that, maybe I'll do a pre-recorded video instead of doing a live. We'll see. But thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys next time. Have a great weekend. Stay safe and enjoy the weather. Take care, guys. Bye.